for another episode of our NFL DFS strategy and lineup builds. We are headed into week 10 with a little bit of momentum. We had a pretty decent week, I'd say. Nothing extravagant, but, we came out pretty positive. And so we'll go ahead and take that and roll with that momentum on into week 10. And so we are gentle and blissful, gifted and beautiful, generous and benevolent, and most appreciatively grateful and blessed. We are guidelines to achieve and build GAB Sports. It's your boy, Young Moolah. On this game that we play, that we love so much, this fantasy football DFS space, is always going to be a roller coaster. You're never going to just have a smooth sail, and you just have to accept that. If you don't accept that, this can be a tilting type of experience, but I don't let these things kind of get to me. You're just living your life. You're loving your life. You're loving yourself. You're loving all that you do. And you continue to refine that process. We go ahead and build some lineups on DraftKings, and then we go ahead and draft a couple of lineups as well on Underdog. All right. Let's kick things off with what you talking about, Willis. All right, another segment of Forget What You Thought. This is what you need to know. And we're going to go straight to it. What are we talking about this week? We're talking about backups. Yeah, backups. We're talking about backups. Yeah, because backups are doing big things this year, as we can see. We're starting with guys like Jacoby Brissett. We're starting with guys like Rico Dowdle. And these guys have proven to come in as the secondary guy and actually be better than the first guy who was in there. And a lot of them, I just want to give a little praise out to these coaches, Dave Canales and Jonathan Gannon, for realizing and trusting what they're seeing, because I realize that these guys are just really just balling, right? These guys are now like starring, and they're resurrecting their offenses. And in the case of Rico Dowdle, this guy's one of the top producers in the league right now, the running back. So you just got to tip your cap to the backups here who have stepped in and stepped up. You got a guy over in Chicago who's created a interesting dilemma for, Ben Johnson there, where you have Kyle Monangai, stepped up last week. I know it was a very soft cupcake matchup, but, he stepped up, did his thing, ran for like 170. So what does that entail once DeAndre Swift is back? Just stay tuned. We'll just have to see how that goes. But if Ben Johnson's going to do the right thing, this guy just has to be able to get some more run, right? Monangai, he's earned it. He's deserved it. So that's one thing we want to look at is the backups. So forget what you thought heading into the season about backup players. These guys have stepped up to the plate and delivered, hit that home run for us already. And a guy like Jacoby Brissett has played so well, in fact, that he's actually dispelled some myths now and silenced a lot of these rumors out here. We have some breaking news. Yeah, we have breaking news, actually, based on Jacoby Brissett's excellent, extraordinary play. Arizona. The breaking news out of Arizona is, yes, he is human. Yes, we've confirmed. He's went ahead and checked all the images to see if there was a bicycle in all the images. He's checked all the images to see if there's stairwell in any of the images. He's checked all the correct images, right? He's no longer considered a bot. We had questions. He's not a robot. Yes. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not a product of artificial intelligence. We've confirmed this now due to the play of Jacoby Brissett. Wow, we got a sideline picture of Marvin Harrison actually smiling, laughing, talking on the sideline on Monday Night Football. He is a human. Round of applause. all due to Jacoby Brissett's incredible play. We now know Marvin Harris Jr. is a human. Thank you, Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, as I look forward, though, some of the backups who I believe will enter the fray here, hopefully, if these coaches wake up, right? Because there's one situation that I'm monitoring very close because it's very clear to me. It's been very clear since day one, since training camp, since preseason, that Shedeur Sanders is clearly better than Dylan Gabriel. It can't be any other outcome, right? Do we all understand that? So forget what you all thought when you started hating on Shedeur Sanders because you didn't like his personality. You didn't like his attitude. Okay, watch when he gets in there. I mean, the bar is so low now even, right? Dylan Gabriel is just horrible. He's just terrible. He's not an NFL quarterback. So the bar is kind of low. But anyway, Shedeur Sanders will do pretty good this year. Trust me, once he gets his opportunity. And you're going to see, hopefully, that same kind of enthusiasm from some of those players once he gets in, because this guy's going to ignite these Cleveland Browns to start producing some kind of points. I mean, they just can't do anything on offense. But once he gets in there, Shedeur Sanders will deliver the ball pretty well. All right. So that's our forget what you thought. This is what you need to know for week 10. Appreciate these backups who have stepped up and stepped in and performed not only admirably, but very, very high level. DraftKings, we're going to go ahead and give you a peek at one of our lineups from last week. Let's go ahead and do that. We went ahead and entered this lineup into one of the 700K play action, which is a very large field contest, right? 270,000 plus entries, right? And we went ahead and finished 277th. So it's a pretty good finish. We'll go ahead and definitely take this one. It was one of those lineups where I looked at it as I had to play some of the chalk, right? I knew you have to play some of that chalk last week, right? And also we wanted to go with some kind of game environments that we liked because we knew that we actually predicted that there would be quite a bit of points because actually we had 9 teams implied for 26 plus points last week, right? Which is a very large number of teams. So that suggested that this could be a really high scoring slate, and it turned out to be the case, right? You see the first place got 261 points here, first place, and we ended up with 226, which, 35 points off first. Hey, not too bad, right? Okay, so we had Dart, Slayton, and we ran it back with a very popular Christian McCaffrey, who delivered the goods as well with 2 touchdowns, several receptions, 100 yards rushing. He had a very top all-around game. He had one of his ceiling-type performances. And so another chalky piece that we rode in those early portion of the games was Kyle Monange, who became a very top play once DeAndre Swift was ruled out. And he became a very price-conscious value play that everybody was going to use, right? But he delivered the goods as well. Differentiating play because everybody had him, right? He's over 48% owned here. And we correlated him not with Jamar Chase, but we went with the cheaper play in T. Higgins, which worked out for us because T. Higgins had a monster game, brought back 36 points at only 4% ownership. So that was very good. So we went with Bijan Robinson in the flex, and he did not have one of his stellar games, but sometimes you're going to come across that, At 8,700, he was going to be contrarian. I knew coming off that poor game the week before that not too many people would turn to him. So we related in a game, but we went with a combination, actually, of our poster boys from last week, and that would be Jameson Williams and Brock Bowers, who we were extremely high on. We had at least 75% Brock Bowers all across DraftKings, and we had about 60-70% on Underdog. I was just hammering them in all the drafts, as you may have seen in our Week 9 video. Yeah, I was really high on Brock Bowers, and it came out. He delivered the goods as I expected him to, or at least hoped that he would. But I knew it was a great spot for him. And moving forward, looking for Brock Bowers to be one of those top players almost week in and week out, regardless of the matchup. The Raiders are going to really bombard this guy with targets. So, all in all, we came out with 226. We had another lineup. They also got over 200 points. So, it was a pretty good week for us here at GAB, and we'll go ahead and bank that one and hopefully try to continue this momentum moving forward for this week. One of our 3 max contests. Triple option, okay? All right, 3 max entry, triple option. One thing I noted is that last week there were 9 teams implied for over 26 points. This week, not so many. There's only 4 teams implied for over 26 points. That being Buffalo, Baltimore, Detroit, and the Rams. So what does that mean, you say? Well, for me, what it means is I'm not going to trust too many spots this week. I'm going to go ahead and only trust a few situations, that being even a few quarterbacks. So right now, the quarterbacks who I'm really looking at are Lamar, and we have Goff, Stafford, and that's the 3 guys that I'm going to trust so far right now. Outside of that, I may also consider Drake May, although I don't love his price, $6,400, and possibly somebody in that Buffalo-Miami game. I'm not sure of which side, actually, whether it's going to be Josh Allen or whether it's going to be Tua Tagovailoa. So those are basically the pool of quarterbacks that I'm looking at, and I don't think I'm going to go outside of that because there's a weather concern that needs to be, resolved as far as we got to get that information as far as that New York Giants Chicago game, which has, some interest. But I noticed that the total has already been moving down pretty fast here. It started at 48. I think they're at like 46 and a half or so right now. So that's something to monitor is the weather report coming out of Chicago, because we're at that time of the year now, frankly, coming, mid-November. At these indoor stadiums, some of these games will be impacted. So that's something that will start to impact the games here, and we need to start looking at that. And so that's why I'm a little cautious right now on that New York Giants Chicago Bears game, because it should be a game of interest if the weather cooperates. Out of those quarterbacks that I mentioned earlier, we have Lamar, we have Goff, and we have Stafford. I think we want to start this lineup, since it's a 3 max type of an entry. We want to bank on a game environment. So I think one of those game environments that I really want to stack really heavily is the Detroit Lions Washington Commanders game, because I think Detroit Lions, coming off of a loss and knowing that hammered down on Detroit last season in the playoffs, this could be a little bit of a revenge spot for Dan Campbell, So he may go in here and not have any mercy, That's just a possible narrative there. But aside from that, the Detroit Lions are also one of the teams that are projected or implied for over 26 real points here. So 4 or 5 touchdowns is definitely not a question. So what we want to do, we want to capture all of those touchdowns. All right. So we're going to start off with a Detroit Lions stack. And fortunately, Goff is not too pricey. He's a cool 5,900, and we can utilize several of his weapons in this lineup. So we're going to go ahead and go with Debo actually in this lineup. And then we're going to go with Amon-Ra. And we're going to also overload it. We're going to do a Goff +3. We're going to add the tight end, Sammy Laporta. All right, so that's a good start for us. Do I need to run anything back here? No, I don't believe I do. So we're going to go ahead and not run anything back. So with this start of this overload, I see that I'm left with like 5,200 in salary. Let's go ahead and just put in a cheap defense right now, just to see what that looks like. So we're going to start at the bottom and see what defense we can come up with, who would be suitable. The Cardinals, hey, looking pretty good, right? Vikings, Saints, Giants at Chicago, turnover prone. Caleb Williams. Yeah, I think we want to go with, we're just going to put in the Cardinals as a placeholder right now. Pretty impressive performance there on Monday night against the Cowboys. Create a lot of turnovers. These guys just flying around, right? So we'll go ahead and put in Arizona Cardinals, and there's a lot of hype, in Seattle right now. Everybody's going goo gaga over Darnold, right? Hey, man, Darnold might still falter here and there. So go ahead and just give us a cheap defense as a placeholder. If not, we'll just keep it in there anyway. And because we're not too concerned about defenses, right? All right, so that being the case, we now have 6,000 per player. So what running back? Do we want to pay up for a running back? There's a couple guys I like. I do like James Cook, who's currently has a queue. Let's see if he practice today. This is Thursday, by the way. Early Thursday. Let's see if he practiced. He was present at Thursday's practice. We like that. We like that kind of news. All right. And we also like the Chan in that same game. And what's the status of Bucky? Bucky isn't practicing Thursday. So, okay. All right. Well, I think we're going to go with 3 running backs here. Right? And so we're going to use our poster boy here in this one. And that is Big Dog down there. And the Ravens are going to Minnesota for an intra-conference battle where Lamar, he tears stuff up against the NFC, right? But this lineup, we're going to use Big Dog because I'm pretty high on most of the Ravens this week. And we want a 3rd running back. So our flex is going to also be a running back. Let's see who that will be. Is it Rico? Shall we go Rico? Or Monangai? Monangai's 56. Rico is 63. And Rico is expected to be very, very popular. We're going to go with James Cook. Yeah, let's go ahead and put James Cook in here. All right, so since this is a late game, put Cook in there. Put Demo in the flex since it's a late game. And now we have 4,900 for 2 wide receiver spots on average. Okay, there is a cheap receiver we have our eyes on this week. A value play. There's a couple of them. The first one being Devon Vele, because coach speak sometimes matters this time of year. At the beginning of the season, sometimes you don't really worry about this coach speak. You want to see them prove it. But coach speak at the end of the season is something that we should be paying close attention to. And the coach speak coming out of New Orleans, especially after the trade of Rashid Shaheed, is that Devon Vele is going to get a lot of snaps here. So at 3,300, we'll go ahead and insert him into this lineup. That leaves us with 6,500. Let's see what we want to do with the rest of that. Okay, we have Waddle as a run back. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with that one. Go with Waddle as a correlating piece with James Cook. And so, yeah, we like this lineup. Okay, we have a Detroit onslaught or semi-onslaught, so to speak. Detroit onslaught of a Goff +3. All right, we got Goff, we got David Montgomery, we got Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and we have Sam Laporta. All right, and then we came with a 3 running back lineup, so we went with 2 other running backs, James Cook, Derrick Henry, to add with David Montgomery, so our 3 running back build. And we're going to go with a coach speak play, which I think will be a very good value play maybe this week. And that will be Devon Vele over in New Orleans. And we are going to use Jalen Waddle in this lineup to have a little mini correlation with James Cook. All right. So go ahead and keep that one. I think this is one of those weeks where I'm just not going to trust a lot of spots here. I'm going to really build heavy on the stacks that I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to use a lot of 2-3 person stacks even. The quarterback, meaning that's the quarterback +2, quarterback +3. I think I'm going to go heavy on that type of approach this week because I'm not going to trust a whole lot of spots. And I think that's the way to build this week. So that's our first build in the 3-max contest. And now we're going to go ahead and go on over to Underdog. All right, over here on Underdog this week, puppy chow. Let's see what we got. All right, we've entered the Battle Royal. And we have the number 1 pick. All right. Yes. We will take it. All right. Got Christian McCaffrey lined up as the consensus number 1. We don't necessarily have to go that route, but we are. We haven't received that many number 1s. Actually, I haven't done that many drafts yet this week so far, so here on Underdog. But we'll go ahead and start off with a Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, I think there's going to be so much injury news that I'm not going to really do a lot of drafts here before the weekend on Underdog because there's so much injury news that could shake up the slate, and you could just be firing a lot of bullets based on just speculation of thinking, oh, this guy's going to play or not. Well, you might as well just wait it out because the ADPs aren't going to change all that dramatically. And so I'd rather just have that news firmly in my pocket to know which direction to go. So go ahead and take Christian McCaffrey. All right. Yeah, so week 10, as I said, I'm not feeling too comfortable with that many different spots here. So I think this will be one of those weeks where it's going to be all or nothing for me. I'm going to have a very, very tight player pool. So I'm either going to be right, and a lot of my lineups are going to be right there, or all my lineups are going to be middling or whatever, or all my lineups are going to be at the bottom. But there's going to be no gray area. I'm going for home run this week, all or nothing, because I don't trust a lot of things. I may only end up with like 2-3 quarterbacks that I use. If some of this news breaks how I think it could break as far as weather and things like that, and I may only have 2-3 quarterbacks spread across like 25 lineups, which I don't tend to do that too often, but there are weeks where I will choose to do that because you're kind of limiting, or you're not really embracing the variance because, football is one of those games that has a lot of variance. And so you're not really embracing the variance by spreading your exposures out. You're just saying, okay, I'm right. I'm taking this one avenue, and you're just relying on that one avenue. Okay. So the backs seem to be drying up already, right? Oh, they're going to give us Lamar right here? We'll definitely take it. We'll take a correlation, in fact. We'll go Lamar and Jefferson. Okay. Who do we want to pair with Lamar? Good question. We'll definitely look at Zay Flowers. If he gets back to us. and the 2 tight ends, either one. Actually, like both of the tight ends. I got them back to back here in my ranks. So DeAndre Swift expects to play this week. That he'll play this Sunday. Okay, that's fine. All right. Are there any other running backs we think we can utilize here? Brees, Tracy, Demo. All right, we're coming up on the corner here. How many tight ends have been taken? 2 tight ends so far? Okay, well, we're not worried about our tight ends. We'll get one of our tight ends. Even in the last pick, we can get Likely, I'm sure. Well, Zay Flowers didn't make it to me, but Likely will. So we're going to go Tetaroa. And we're going to go Demo in that onslaught game. Yeah. Demo or Jamo? We're going to go with Demo. Washington's been very bad against the run, so. And Dan Campbell, usually after a loss, he wants to assert that physical dominance and impose his will on a team. Look for them to really try to hammer Washington in the running game. So Demo's a strong pick this week. He won't garner a lot of ownership. He never does because of the presence of Jahmyr Gibbs. So it's always contrarian play. Usually a low on play to also have Demo in your player pool. And he's definitely touchdown dependent, but this is a good matchup where 4 or 5 touchdowns can be anticipated from the Detroit Lions. Who knows? Why can't he get 2 of them, right? He's done it before plenty of times. And so we're just going to hope that this comes our way with a Demo. Actually, I want Likely over Andrews. That pendulum is always very fickle. You don't know where it's going to hit, right? It's like one of those things where the touchdown can go to any. Why is it always going to this guy, right? So expect some of that touchdown variance to be spread around the Ravens. So if I'm stacking several Lamar stacks this week, which I probably will, I'm going to mix them up, mix up the combinations because you don't know which one is going to hit, right, as far as getting the touchdown. So all right. So we'll go ahead and jump in another one right here. Let's sign up right now. Jump in another Battle Royale. All right, it's waiting right now. All right, we got Likely, okay? So let's go ahead and review. Okay, we start off with the number 1 pick with Christian McCaffrey in a very tough divisional battle against the Rams, but they're going to lean on their guy, right? CMC. And then we back that up with Lamar on the corner, the 2-3 turn. We combined them with Justin Jefferson and a little correlation there in that dome game. And then we came back with Tetairoa McMillan in the 4th. And also got a piece of that game that we like in the late slate as well. It's Detroit against Washington. And then we also got Lamar's stacking partner of choice there. We would have really liked to get Flowers, but didn't work out. So we went ahead and went with Likely as our tight end of choice this week in this particular lineup. Again, we're going to have different variations of the Lamar stack, so we just wanted to show you that It's okay to just pick different combinations. It doesn't always have to be the same guy you're pairing with Lamar, or the more popular guys to pair with Lamar, right? Because Andrews is the more obvious choice, right? People that have been using Lamar or just following the Ravens in general, you see that Andrews is scoring these touchdowns. But we say that changes this week, or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'll have some Andrews too. Okay, let's see what's going on in our next battle royal. All right, round 2. This time we got the 5th pick. All right, let's do it. 5th pick, a little different spot here. Let's see what falls our way. We're just going to go ahead and not be picky, but I do like some Dowdle. Puka. That Q tag is scaring a lot of people, I'm sure. All right, we're up next. Seems like a lot of people are just picking the receivers here kind of early here on Underdog. I'm not sure I agree with that, but because I think the running back kind of dries up pretty quick. We're going with Rico. We're getting our running back of choice here. And we may even take another running back. Big dog. And yeah, receiver is not deep either. I agree. It's not super deep at receiver, but it's okay. Sometimes the receiver variance, you just need to get a touchdown out of one of these receivers because they don't get a full PPR here on Underdog. So it's hard to really separate at the receiver spot unless you find the right game environment where there's a lot of passing, and so we'll see. I think I do want to take another running back here. Like Big Dog, obviously. We like H-N. We're going to go with Big Dog here. Okay, so we start off with 2 backs. Dowdle, Big Dog. We're looking for some touchdowns. We're going touchdown hunting. Okay, so we're coming back at 17 and 20. Once again, folks, thank you for joining us here at GAB Sports for our NFL Week 10 DFS strategy and lineup builds. We appreciate your support. Please take the time to like the video, subscribe to our channel. Feel free to leave a comment. But most importantly, we appreciate you tuning in to view our content. This will be an amazing journey as we build this channel from the ground up at GAB Sports. Holla at us. Follow us on social media. Also, once again, please subscribe to the channel. Appreciate your support. Thank you. Okay, we're coming up here. And we don't need a running back, obviously. So let's see what we have in our queue. Which quarterbacks are we going to go with? Well, first of all, let's see which receiving options we're going to get. And then that will determine which quarterbacks we may like. Dart, even in a bad game environment, he still has those legs. We will not shy away from Dart. Oh, we like some Nico. Yeah, we like some Nico this week. He's one of our poster boys. Yes, Nico. True. All right. We'll go with Waddle. Waddle, possibly add Tua later. Yeah. Get a little exposure to those guys. Because I think that Buffalo-Miami game will be a lot more competitive than what's anticipated right now. Buffalo is on the road, coming off of a, pretty key game. I'm sure they were really up for that Kansas City game. And then next week, they're facing Tampa Bay. So this has all the markings of a trap game, so to speak, right? Where Miami hasn't really been doing much all season long. But you're going on the road here, Buffalo, divisional opponent. And Miami, they kept some pieces intact here. They didn't trade Waddle, HN, or any of those key pieces on offense. So I look for Miami to surprise here and be in this game. I'm not saying they're going to win. I mean, they're 9.5-point dogs at home. But the home dog angle, a lot of these teams have been competing. So I'll go ahead and take me some Waddle shares and maybe even Tua. A little bit of Tua stacks. Fields, Mason Taylor, Mariota Ertz. All right, we're going to go Tua. I'm going to stick with our first choice here of what we talked about. And now we've got a tight end need here. So let's see. Hawkinson? I don't know if I trust that rookie quarterback there. Juwan. There's a void there. Maybe. We'll go with Juwan. Yeah, let's see. There's a void now left behind with the departure of Rashid Shaheed. So that possibly will allow Juwan to get a few more looks in that offense. And so, yeah, we'll go with Juwan Johnson on this roster. It's also a correlation with Rico Dowdle, who we drafted in the first round. Let's do it. Juwan it is. We have a skinny stack of Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Waddle. And then we have a correlation of Rico Dowdle with Juwan Johnson, our tight end that we drafted in the last round. And then we have Big Dog, Derrick Henry, one of our poster boys. He's ready to eat. Big Dog got to eat too, man. As somebody said. BDGE. Shout outs to you, buddy. And we also got Jalen Waddle. Oh, no, we already talked about Jalen. And we also have Nico Collins, one of our other poster boys. He and Big Dog. Both of these big dogs got to eat. I think Jalen Waddle might do a little mossing this week. We're hoping. He can moss some of those Jacksonville DBs. They don't have Travis Hunter any longer right now, right? So, and Davis Mills hasn't been playing bad. So let's go ahead and get the job done there, Nico. All right, there you have it. Okay, so finally, we want to jump back over to DraftKings, finish this off with one more lineup build over there on DraftKings. 40K front four, around 12K entries. 10K to first. Yeah, we're going to just go ahead and stick to our guns here and continue to just stay within the certain parameters of this slate with the teams who I trust more than others this week. Can't trust none of this stuff totally, right? But who do I trust this week? Me. That's who. Nah, that's from the Scarface reference if you didn't get it. But we'll go ahead and stick with some of our top plays, right? As we saw even there on Underdog, So we're going to go ahead and go with another one of our preferred overstacks of team, and we're going to go with the Baltimore Ravens this time. So we're going to go with Lamar, our poster boy, Big Dog, and Likely. So we're going to do a Lamar +2. All right. But this time we will run it back because we do like something on the other side. It's possible. It is highly possible. Something can happen on the other side. We're going to take the cheaper option of the two receivers. I sometimes just like to go with the cheaper option just because it gives me more salary at other positions. But in run backs, that is. Sometimes in the run backs, I'll take the cheaper guy against my stat. And so this time that would be, where's he at? Am I just overlooking him? Oh, there he is. I wasn't down far enough. Addison. Okay. Okay, so we start off with the Lamar +2, Lamar Big Dog, Likely, run back with Addison. Then we want to go ahead and see what we want to do next. We got 5,600 per slot here. So another running back who I'm looking at this week, Judkins is in play. I don't really love his salary, but we do like HN. We do like that Buffalo game, and we like the Miami side quite a bit. I think there's a projected of 50 points. Miami's going to score some of those. They're at home. And again, Buffalo has had some defensive hits, some hits to that defensive side of the ball as far as injuries. And I think Miami can score some points against them. So we're going to go with HN in this lineup. And we want to go with another one of our lower end receivers who may be in a spot to do something. And that would be this guy right here. Tez Johnson, back to the well. He was our post sport a couple of weeks ago. It didn't quite work out. But I noticed he's getting quite a few snaps over there, So he can be in a position where, if Godwin's out again, which I anticipate he will be, Tez Johnson, they may have to throw the ball because nobody's been able to really run against that New England defense. So Tez Johnson could be in a position to get quite a few snaps. And we always like that Texans defense, right? But before we put in the Texans defense, we got to go with some of our guy we really like this week. Again, player pool will be tight. We're going with Nico. All right. So that leaves us with a flex up to around 7,000, I would say. I feel comfortable maybe going as high as 7,000, leaving us with 25 for the defense. So up to 7,000. We do like some Kyron Williams once again. We do want to get a Ram possibly in this lineup. And I think, we'll just go ahead and do that. Take Kyron Williams in that late slot, that late window of games. And so that leaves us with 2,900 for a defense. And we're just off of the Texans, but we do like the Browns against this Jets team, right? So let's go ahead and rock with the Browns. Yeah. Okay. That's our final build here. So we went with the Lamar double. Again, we're trusting only a few spots this week. And when we trust these spots, we're going to go with a lot of double stacks. So we went with Lamar plus Big Dog, the unconventional quarterback, running back. But these two can definitely go off at the same time. We've seen it plenty of times. And then we also added Isaiah Likely as our preferred tight end in this lineup. And I think he's going to break through this week. I just have a hunch. So just call it a hunch. Sometimes you have to go off hunches, but I do like this Ravens offense in general, so it could be spread around. We don't know where it's going to come, and Likely is about to break out at some point. He's going to have a big game. This is hopefully it. All right, and we ran that one back with Jordan Addison, okay? And then we added another running back in that early window in Devin Achane. Okay. Against that Buffalo defense that has taken some hits. They've been getting nicked up over there. So Achane, I believe, can have a busy day here. Even if he doesn't run all over him, he's still involved in the pass game. So that's always a potential PPR demon here. And then we went with Taz Johnson in the Tampa Bay game against New England. Neither team, I don't believe, will be able to run the ball here. So the passing attacks will be utilized. And then we have our poster boy, number 2, Nico Collins. He's ready to moss somebody, right? Let's do it. And then in the late window, we came with Kyron Williams in that key tilt over the NFC West against a banged-up San Francisco defense that continues to take hits with more and more injuries each week. So we got Kyron Williams to get some of that Rams exposure. And then we rounded it out with a Cleveland defense against a New York Jets team that could be close to packing it in. We don't even know which quarterback they're going to get, but whichever one, this is a pretty ferocious pass rush they're going to face. Pretty good defense all around in Cleveland. So that's a good choice there. All right, so there you have it. Thank you for joining us for our NFL Week 10 DFS strategy and lineup builds. Go ahead. Again, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, feel free to leave a comment, and most appreciatively, we thank you for your support, and hopefully we see each other at the top of the standings this week. Thank you. We're out. Bye.